Melancholy, sadness, and loneliness come as Venus, the planet of connection, conjoins the taskmaster Saturn on Thursday, March 21st. Time to take a close look at your projects and commitments and keep those that have long-term potential and release those that do not. Let's take a closer look and break it down for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. If you like my work and enjoy my content, please take a second to show your support by leaving a like or a comment, subscribing, and pressing the notification bell. It really helps. It really encourages YouTube algorithm show my content to more people, encourages my channel's growth. You also have the option of saying thank you by buying me a coffee. I truly appreciate that. And if you ever find yourself in a position of wanting to understand your chart better, if you're curious what the eclipse season has in store for you or feel lost in life, you're welcome to book a reading with me at anastasiadoesastrology.com. There's a few links and few reading options. For example, natal chart readings that are more general and take a look at your soul's purpose, your skills, gifts, and talents, your flaws and challenges. I give you advice on how to maximize the potential and improve on the difficult parts. There's also predictive readings, relationship readings. Definitely check out my website for more. And on my website, you can find a broad range of products I create. At this point, I guess it's not super broad, but at this point, the main is the 2024 Astrology Planner. This was my 2023 love passion project. It contains 225 pages filled with insights about astrology, important information, guides, lunar phases, journaling prompts, and important dates that you can maximize to start projects, as well as some challenging dates where it's best to take it easy and avoid putting yourself out there. There are specific symbols for those on each monthly calendar page. On my website, you can also find, in the shop section, you can also find my candle and oil creation. We are talking about Venus in conjunction to Saturn, which if you continue listening, you'll find out can be very melancholic, very sort of somber and serious. So I highly recommend checking out my Moon in Cancer 2 candle. This is the 2024 edition Moon in Cancer. It smells like moonflower nectar and is decorated with silver foil. It is perfect for soothing you. It literally feels like a warm hug of a close friend or a family member. Very comforting, very supportive. Perfect for people born with their moon in Capricorn or Scorpio. If your natal moon is in the 6th, 8th, or 12th houses, if it's making any aspects to Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, or Neptune to kind of help ground you and help connect with your emotions and process your feelings. So this is the perfect choice for the eclipse season because the energies can be unpredictable, emotions can be a little bit higher, so definitely check that out. So let's talk about Venus-Saturn conjunction. The exact moment of the conjunction is 7:09 p.m. Thursday, March 21st. It occurs at 12 degrees 26 minutes of Pisces. So you will feel it the most if you have planets, angles, your ascendant, descendant, midheaven IC, or any of your planets between about 9 and 15 degrees mutable signs, which are Pisces, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Gemini, our mutable people out there. I myself have my Mars at 14 degrees 51 minutes of Virgo, so I'm definitely in this camp with you. Even though the aspect itself perfects on the 21st of March, it is important because not just that it is important, we start to feel it around March 19th and then it lasts until March 24th. And I would even extend it as far as to say it takes us into the eclipse season, right? Because we have an eclipse on the 25th of March. So the conjunction of Venus and Saturn impacts the choices, impacts the karma that is coming your way. So let's talk about the potential energies that you will be feeling, right? Let's remember that Venus in Pisces is an exalted Venus. She is quite strong. She's quite compassionate and understanding. She's also in the sign of the dreamer Pisces, right? Venus is about accord, connection. So when she's in Pisces, she has that power to bring us together, to help us make amends, to help us compromise and understand one another, right? This is one of my favorite qualities about any Pisceans I know, is their endless endless amounts of compassion they have, right? Like they're truly understanding. Saturn, on the other hand, is the planet of realism. It's the planet of check-ins and commitments and sacrifice. So when you put together the planet of love and connection with the planet of realism and sacrifice, you are grappling with tough decisions, right? Venus rules love. Venus rules beauty and art. So those are the areas, and specifically the area of your chart that is Pisces. We'll talk more about that when we do horoscopes. But those are the areas in which you will feel the gravitas, the seriousness of things, right? So if we're looking at relationships, it might be the time when you are, first of all, needing to forgive, needing to move past a difficult situation. You may find yourself growing closer through this kind of difficult situation. You may need to be realistic. It might be the time when you're having to realize that true love is messy, that true connections require time, they require effort. You know, nothing stays perfect. Like the initial sort of spark of attraction and excitement you feel, it changes, it grows, it dwindles, then it flames back up. So there's a lot of like need to be realistic. And with that reality check, for some, there might be sadness, there might be loneliness, there might be melancholy as you're craving something, bigger. And out of that will just flow like a Piscean mind. But out of that also comes a need to commit, right? Venus is the planet of art. It's the planet of creativity. Saturn has the staying power. Saturn has the longevity. Saturn has the commitment necessary. So the energy that is required for mastery of something, for refinement of something. So it could be a few days where you're just like really working on something, really putting the finishing touches, maybe destroying something, like let's say it's a sculpture, you like, or a painting, you're wiping the slate clean. Yes, you're wiping it clean and you're getting ready to start again. Overall, there may be a need to slow down. There may be a need to sit down and process some things and have some tough conversations. There might be a need to examine relationships, like I said, and projects for whether they have long-term potential. Do they have the future? Do you value things enough? Do you grow together? Do you support one another? Are you on the same level, right? Like Venus and Pisces and Saturn together can be very empathetic and forgiving, but the choice will not always be about staying. Sometimes the choice might have to do with going and letting each other free, right? Or setting the project free. So on the challenging side, definitely can feel a little bit heavy, can feel a little bit tough, lonely, isolating. You may feel nostalgic. You may sort of, even I think, perfection, right? With like Venus in Pisces, that dream of perfection will be pushed against the reality of the situation. So the sadness that comes out of it could also be like the sadness for what could have been, or what could be but is not realistic. So as a result out of that, I think either it comes the acceptance of the situation and ability to move forward, or a need to separate, to end, to release. So could be quite beautiful, but definitely has that like sober energy to it. For some of you, this could be the time of commitment. This could be the time of engagement. This could be the time of like putting boundaries on something, right? Putting boundaries on a relationship, and marriage and engagement is very much that. So it's not necessarily only this like serious tough transit. I just think like with Venus coming together with Saturn, there's a need for more precise definition of what is going on. And out of that comes the decision to stay or to go. Do any of you have this placement natally? If you do, please let me know down below what sign it is. How does it feel? Do you feel like you have to live with this sobriety and seriousness? Do you feel like you see beauty in darker situations, right? I think that's another manifestation of that. If Saturn is death, if Saturn is boundaries, if Saturn is tradition and conservative type things, if Venus is conjunct Saturn, you see joy in that potentially. You see beauty in commitment and tradition. That's kind of like what Venus in Capricorn is about, right? For example, it really appreciates kind of stable, ambitious, hardworking partners. So let's take a look at the 12 signs and see what this might mean for you. I recommend listening for the rising sign because that is how I write horoscopes. Rising sign is the door to the chart. It numbers the rooms in the chart and you know where each planet is hanging out. This is, like I said, is really important too because shortly, like few days after this transit, we get the eclipse, and we are basically, at the time of this transit, we are very, very much in the preparation for the eclipse season. We may already be feeling the energy, so this is like an introduction into what's coming up. This moment of sobriety will potentially impact the rest of the eclipse season, which lasts between the 25th of March and 8th of April when we get the solar eclipse in Aries. So starting with Aries rising, Venus conjoins Saturn in your 12th house, and you are looking at your subconscious. You are looking at your blind spots, and on one level you are realizing what is unhealthy. You will likely have a lot more self-awareness around this time, way deeper compassion and self-understanding. And this could be the time when you're coming to terms and you're becoming more self-aware, you're becoming realistic about bad habits you have that are holding you back. It could be a tendency to play a victim. It could be a tendency to rely on other people. It could be some kind of addiction and some kind of unhealthy behavior. There may be relationship patterns where you are, maybe you're being too forgiving, maybe you're being too caring, maybe you're letting other people take advantage of you and getting lost in the relationship, getting lost in the connection, so struggling somehow. So Venus conjunct Saturn is this moment of sobriety, this moment of realization, like, hey, I shouldn't stay on social media past midnight, or hey, maybe I should drink a little less, or maybe I should not say yes to people who expect certain things of me because it's not good for my mental health. Another example of the Venus-Saturn conjunction in the 12th house could be very much commitment to something that is hidden within you. 12th house is imagination, spirituality. It's esoteric, tarot, anything that you feel really, really passionate about, but you haven't had a chance to explore. So Venus conjoining Saturn would also be the opportunity to explore it, to go for it. And because Venus rules love and 12th house is the place of like sort of hidden love affairs, I wonder if for some of you, there might also be like engagement and planning of a wedding in a foreign place maybe, or a faraway place. Let me know how this resonates, and if you'd like to know more, book a reading with me at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Next, we have Taurus rising. If you are a Taurus rising, Venus is conjoining Saturn in your 11th house. And here you're looking at your friendships, you're looking at your network, at your social engagements and social relationships, and going through them with a fine-tooth comb, right? Fine-tooth comb. Yeah, you're kind of combing. I can't speak. Mercury is still in Pisces when I'm filming this, so just keep that in mind. So you are becoming more realistic about connections, right? You're becoming more realistic about which ones of them are life affirming and which ones of them are draining. And there might be a need to perhaps release some friendships or have some tough conversations. You're also looking at your social engagement from a point of view of whether you have equilibrium in your life. Do you feel like you're just kind of spreading yourself too thin, doing too much? Maybe it's the time to let something go. 11th house is the place of community. So realizing your responsibility to community and perhaps connecting with the community and feeling like you want to do better, you want to improve the life of your community is quite likely. 11th house represents dreams. So with some dreams, there might be a realization that maybe you need to put them on hold, maybe you need to wait, maybe you need to be sort of mindful of everything else that is going on in your life. With other dreams, there might be a need to recommit, to sacrifice, to compromise, to figure something out, right? Like you're looking at the place of kind of your role in the world, and Venus conjunct Saturn can either create a sense of like, this is taking so long and I'm so frustrated and when am I going to get there? But it shouldn't be discouraging. Saturn is in your 11th house until February 2026. So it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? So be patient with yourself, be patient with people in your life, and keep going. It might be right that right around this time you're actually getting clear on what is your dream, what is your priority. And if you want to know more, book a reading with me at anastasiadoesastrology.com to take a look at your chart, answer your questions, and find out what eclipse season is bringing. Next, we have Gemini rising. If you are a Gemini rising, Venus is conjoining Saturn in your 10th house, and it's all about career, status, reputation, your outside image. And of course, Venus being here is potentially encouraging you to pursue more pleasurable activities, to pursue more joyful things, to redefine what you want to do for work. And Saturn and Venus coming together is a reality check. It's the moment where you may realize that things need to change, that your dreams need to change. You may kind of look at them from a bit of like a serious and somber perspective and realize that some of them are not quite realistic. On the other hand, if you feel like things are taking too long or you feel like you're not quite getting where you're trying to go, there is an opportunity here to come up with a plan, to come up with a structure, to commit, right, to sacrifice, to know that it may not be exactly the way you want it, or you might not get there really fast, but you can keep going, you can keep persevering. Venus conjunct Saturn in the 10th house could also be the time of recognition professionally. It could be the time of turn professional. There might be some kind of rewards. There might be a project you're completing and getting ready to present it to the world, something you've been working on. You may also be refining something, redoing, kind of putting the finishing touches on the work that you're doing. And if you'd like to know more, book a reading with yours truly at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Also, let me know how this resonates. How has all of this Piscean action in your 10th house been? Have you been noticing changes professionally? And also, for those of you that don't have a traditional career, this relates to anything you do in the world, anything you're known for, right? Like if you are retired, you may be known for managing the elections in your local town or being on the board of your home committee, something. So apply this accordingly. Next, we have the lovely Cancer risings. If you are a Cancer rising, Venus is conjoining Saturn in your 9th house, and you are looking at your beliefs. You may feel like a sense of kind of like heaviness and gravitas around questions of faith and your guiding principles, your morals, right? Like, so kind of like really important questions around who am I? What is important to me? Where am I going? Could be coming up right now, and it might feel a little bit like isolating and heavy, and like you are the one who's grappling and dealing with a lot of these important questions and making important choices. So let yourself sit with it. Maybe start small, start with writing a list of things you enjoy doing, and then figure your way, kind of, move towards an important decision like that. There might be important questions and reality checks around education. For example, you are trying to get a double major, right? And you are realizing around this time that it's a little bit too much. Maybe it's okay to put something down and to rethink your strategy. Maybe it's the time to finally, apply for the program that you want to apply for, instead of just sort of standing in at the start line. And this could be your time when you are applying, when you are submitting paperwork and things feel sort of heavy and serious because you're handling a lot of important matters. Questions of travel, questions around legal matters, writing, publishing, dealing with foreign people, foreign lands, foreigners, right? Could be important around this time, but I think a lot of it begins with this question of like, what is guiding me? What is important to me? What do I believe in? And perhaps accepting the reality of situation, then committing to the project at hand that you are passionate about, and then working on it with all you've got. And if you'd like to know more, book a reading with me at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Also let me know how this resonates. How are you doing, beautiful Cancer rising? Next, we have the lovely Leo risings. If you are a Leo rising, Venus is conjoining Saturn in your 8th house of give and take, of shared resources, of your partner's money, of loans, debts, taxes, anywhere where you exchange finances, resources, knowledge with other people. And of course, with Venus here, you may be getting access to other people's resources. You're maybe starting new partnerships. You're maybe starting new chapters in your relationship, like becoming business partners with your significant other or moving in with your significant other. And so when Venus conjoins Saturn here, you are needing to, let's say it's almost like the time when you need to sign a prenup, right? Or you need to draft a prenup. And so this is the time when you're like, well, I love you, but I need to talk to you about real life concerns, right? How are we going to handle this situation? Who's going to pay for what? What's going to happen if things don't work out? So you're kind of needing to be very rational, very grounded here, and very serious about these topics that we often don't feel comfortable talking about. That's why 8th house is the dark house, right? So if you have planets in the 8th house, get my candle. Especially if it's your moon, because the moon in the 8th house can create a bit more like inner turmoil. But yeah, I think needing to be kind of grounded and serious as you discuss these matters, needing to come up with a financial plan as you pay out your debts, needing to figure out how you will handle these resources that come your way, how you're going to handle, the give and take, because if somebody gives you things, a lot of times you end up feeling like you owe something to them. So addressing these heavy topics, having important conversations, figuring out your finances could be quite important right now, as well as looking at your healing and your health and perhaps exploring that. But I think you're also on like a deeper level, you're looking at the questions of vulnerability and trust. Do you trust somebody else to support you? Do you trust that things will work out? And when do you need to have like the physical sort of piece of paper to protect yourself? Because sometimes you trust, but it doesn't hurt to have like, Saturnian proof, something tangible. Let me know how this resonates. And if you'd like to know more, book a reading on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com. Moving on to the lovely Virgo rising. If you are a Virgo rising, Venus is conjoining Saturn in your 7th house. So if there is anyone who can expect commitment from this, it is quite likely Virgo risings, right? Because Venus conjunct Saturn in the house of marriage and business, very much like you're getting in bed with someone, you're getting married, you're getting engaged, you're signing contracts, right? It's all very serious. I think there's also a need to look at relationships through a more realistic, honest, serious kind of lens, because Venus, and in general, right, when you're a Virgo rising, your 7th house is Pisces, you're likely quite idealistic, maybe not so good with boundaries when it comes to relationships. You're very at times kind of naive and optimistic when it comes to love. So I think when Venus comes together with Saturn, you are on one hand needing to commit to a relationship, on the other hand, you're likely needing to look at your partner from a very serious and honest standpoint. And you need to maybe accept that they're not perfect, that the relationship is not perfect, that they can be flawed and have things that annoy you, but you can still love them, right? So there is both a need for humility and acceptance, but also a need to maybe some honesty, right? Like if you feel like you've been involved in a relationship or a business partnership or even a friendship or a relationship with a parent, any kinds of one-on-one relationships that is draining you and is unhealthy for you, Venus conjunct Saturn can offer opportunities to let those connections go. And for some, maybe to make them official, to, join forces, to start business partnerships, to sign important contracts. Let me know how this resonates. And if you'd like to know more, book a reading with me at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Now, if you are a lovely Libra rising, Venus will conjoin Saturn in your 6th house. And here you're looking at the questions of commitment, sacrifice, and realism when it comes to your work, when it comes to your health, your diet, your exercise, and I think your overall schedule and your workload, right? Everything that's on your plate. And on one hand, you are needing to commit to something. Venus conjunct Saturn could suggest that you are discovering some exciting projects, right? You are finding something that involves your diet, that involves exercise, that involves animals, right? 6th house represents pets as well. And you're committing to something and you know that it's going to be hard and it's going to be heavy, but it's worth it. It's worth it. You are all in. On the other hand, there's a need to be realistic about what's possible and what's not possible, and realistic about what needs to be set aside, what needs to be put down, what is maybe too heavy and too overwhelming. Even if sometimes you can't set anything aside, I think Venus conjunct Saturn could just be the time when you are realizing that you need to care for yourself a little bit more, because maybe you have a commitment, like you have a young child, right? And you can't stop taking care of them. They demand a lot of attention. They need your time. They wouldn't survive without you, but you can still give yourself grace and you can take better care of yourself, and you can maybe commit to exercising, commit to meditating daily, doing yoga, working on your spiritual health as well as your physical health, and kind of taking good care of yourself. Another manifestation of this I can see as recognition, as completion of something, rewards for the creative project you've been committing a lot of time and attention to, and perhaps a more kind of happier feeling of resolution. Might also be the time when your workload is just like very, very heavy. And so the realizations you're having at this time, or the seriousness, the loneliness, the heaviness you're feeling, can be important indicators on how to handle the next steps. Let me know how this resonates, and if you'd like to know more, if you have any questions, book a reading with me at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Next, we have Scorpio risings. If you are a Scorpio rising, Venus will conjoin Saturn in your 5th house. So this is about love, pleasure, romance, sex, children. And Venus actually rejoices in the 5th house, so she's quite happy to be in the 5th house. She could suggest important questions coming up in your life, important maybe relationship developments, changes around parenthood, maybe creative projects, maybe something that brings you pleasure, kind of coming full circle. And then Saturn will, of course, create serious questions around those topics, right? So if we start with love, Venus conjunct Saturn on one hand could be the time you make a relationship official, you make it serious. On the other hand, could be the time you realize that there is nothing to a relationship besides maybe a sexual connection. So needing to look at longevity, long-term potential of relationships is definitely a thing here. Needing to examine your projects and which ones of them are realistic versus which ones are maybe not, and which ones just sort of drain your energy versus which ones you need to commit to and sacrifice and compromise. There might be heavy questions around parenthood, whether you want to be a parent or not. How much time you spend taking care of your child, how can you maybe improve, share things differently with your partner to kind of balance things a little bit more. We have a lunar eclipse in Libra coming up, all about balance. Another manifestation here I could see around pleasure in terms of which habits, which sort of seemingly playful, fun things are not serving you, right? If we're talking about smoking or drinking or partying, like there might be something about pleasure and your relationship to it that feels outdated. So it's okay to let something go. It's okay to maybe rethink your joy in life and what truly brings you joy, what truly makes you happy. If you'd like to know more, book a reading with me on anastasiadoesastrology.com and let me know how this resonates. Have you been feeling these energies already, or perhaps not yet? Next, we have Sagittarius rising, and Venus and Saturn come together in your 4th house. So here you're looking at home, family, and living situation, right? And there might be a certain heaviness around home, family, and living situation. There might be a need to commit to something. There might be an important change, like you're moving somewhere and you're needing to address a lot of questions, needing to pack things, and it just feels very heavy, very serious. You may be realizing that certain ideals you have about family, about living situation, are maybe not realistic, and you're needing to examine things from a more kind of serious perspective, right? Like, am I ready to sell my home, or do I feel emotionally attached to it? Am I ready to stay in this town, or do I feel like I want to move? So a lot of kind of heavy questions. There may be a need to examine family karma and how you are allowing your family and your parents and your childhood shape yourself, right? Like maybe even in the realm of relationships, a need to have stronger boundaries with your neighbors or your family members, and maybe understand that you can love them, but you don't have to let them control your life, right? If you have a more like kind of unhealthy relationship with family members. And just also like addressing any kind of questions around moving, around mortgage, around even cleaning your home, getting things organized, feeling like there might be like a lot of responsibility, a lot of pressure, and maybe needing to figure out what is worth committing to versus what is draining and what needs to be released. And that may sometimes include having more like serious conversations with people in your life to clarify to them what you feel comfortable doing versus what you don't feel comfortable doing. And let me know how this resonates down below. If you'd like to know more, book a reading with me at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I'm here. If you are a Capricorn rising, Venus conjoins Saturn in the 3rd house. And here you're looking at your everyday life. You are looking at your neighborhood, at your siblings, at your commute, technology you use, messages you send, connections you keep, conversations you start, right? And needing to be very serious about that. It's also the house of education. It's also the house of writing and writing projects, skills, hobbies, and business. So it's the house that holds your everyday life, things that are part of your routine, things that you do. And so with Venus conjunct Saturn, you may be starting a new project. This to me reads as like a new writing project or a business or maybe school work, right? Maybe you're working on graduating and you're writing some kind of paper. So it could feel like there's a lot of kind of serious decisions, a lot of tough decisions. So try to move through them with patience and grace and kindness. There may be some heavy conversations, right? Some heavy sort of questions around boundaries and around siblings, around neighbors, around your schedule. How much are you giving, like how much of your energy and time and money you're giving to people, and whether it's reciprocal, whether it's supportive, which relationships are supportive. Even I think needing to get serious about kind of things that are time wasters, connections that are time wasters, and maybe needing to let some of those go, needing to like rethink your technology, needing to rethink your space, declutter your space, both mental space but also physical space around you. So having to kind of go through your life and your commitments and your agreements with people and your relationship with a fine-tooth comb is required here. Also, I think you may find yourself as like a peacemaker, as someone who is helping people negotiate, compromise. Maybe you are figuring out some contracts, or having to like take exams, having to deal with like authority figures, with some kind of bureaucracy. So there might be like a lot involved. And I think as you go through step by step through your checklist, you may realize what is worth your time, what is worth your commitment versus what is not. Let me know how this resonates. And if you'd like to know more, book a reading with me at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Next, we have Aquarius rising, and Venus comes together with Saturn in your second house. So this is all about money and values, priorities, things that are important to you versus those that are not. So Venus conjunct Saturn on the positive could be a new creative project, right? Venus coming into your second house could be opportunities to make money more creatively, opportunities for creative partnerships, opportunities maybe to make more money, so she can be quite generous with you. But when she comes to Saturn, when she conjoins with Saturn between the 19th and the 24th of March, you are needing to be more serious. You are needing to be more discerning with the resources that are coming your way, with the opportunities, even with these new dreams that you have of making money. You need to be realistic. It doesn't mean they are impossible, but maybe there are certain parts of them that needs to be rethought. Maybe there is some kind of structure that needs to be brought into your life. Maybe there are some kind of sacrifices you need to make as you move towards this plan to have a business or towards financial freedom, right? A need to be very kind of like serious, and also a need to look at your priorities, to look at what is important to you, what is, what do you want to commit to? What do you want to spend your money on even? Versus what you don't want to spend your money on. And so there might be some kind of like serious conversations that are important, that are going to happen here. Conversations with your boss about what is part of your job description, right? Versus if they've been giving you too many things and not compensating you accordingly. Conversations with your partner about who spends on what, and how you share responsibilities, or like your financial priorities as well. And a need to maybe consult financial advisors to start saving, to even maybe make an important purchase, but something that like creates a lot of kind of seriousness when it comes to money and values. Let me know how this resonates, and if you'd like to know more, book a reading with me at anastasiadasastrology.com. Last but not least, we have Pisces rising, and Venus is conjoining Saturn in your first house of health, self-image, personality, your physical body, your priorities. So Venus coming here will be very crucial for you in terms of understanding what you value, understanding what you desire, right? And when she comes to Saturn, there may be a little bit of like a reality check where you realize that some of your dreams may need to be postponed, may need to be rethought, may need to be delayed, or maybe you need to recommit to them, right? Like first house is you, it's what you want, it's what you desire, it's how you present yourself, it's how you answer the question of I am. So with Venus-Saturn conjunction, there is on one hand a need to release something potentially, maybe a need to let go of something that doesn't serve you, a need to be more realistic of what is worthy of your time. And then on the other hand, I think you are recommitting to yourself. You are recommitting to your health. You are maybe making adjustments to what you spend your time doing, maybe focusing on exercising, eating better. Even personal projects like personal development may be important for you at this time, as you are taking classes, as you're growing, as you are discovering what is important for you versus what is not, as you're booking a reading with Anastasia Does Astrology on my website, anastasiadasastrology.com. But like very serious time, I think. You may feel around this time, you may feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. You may feel like kind of heavy, a little bit melancholic. Maybe you're letting something go. Maybe you're actually committing to something and making serious decisions. So if you feel overwhelmed, do not hesitate to like take care of yourself, wrap yourself in a blanket, take a bath, go take a shower. You are a water rising sign. It could be very like soothing and healing, and give yourself time to figure things out. Saturn is here for a while, so let me know how has it been treating you if you are a Pisces rising. And this is it. We have taken Venus-Saturn conjunction through all the 12 signs. I don't think it's the one to be afraid of. It does have a serious nature. People tend to sort of worry about Saturn. So it doesn't have to be negative, but you know, life has different colors. And so sometimes when Saturn comes around, it could be like a rainier, more serious day in your life, but try to think happy thoughts, try to commit to the work that you love to do, commit to taking care of yourself, and you will do great. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.